Welcome. In this quick video, we're going to go over the new features that we've added with the release of United VMS 9.2.4. As we started with UVMS 9.2.3, we're releasing updates each quarter. And as you can see by the GA date at the bottom, we are right on schedule as we move forward, trying to be more agile and responsive to our customer needs. As before, each quarter we follow the same plan, starting at the top here with the complementary features for cameras, followed by some new enhanced features and functionalities in our Latitude VMS, and then closing out with a couple of new cybersecurity defense layers. So up at the top here with this UVMS release, we now have support for the aerial 4K camera, further VMS support for the FCR AI functions, and also a new dynamic attribute that we've added using the same JSON functions that we started using back in the 9.2.3 release in order to expand or add camera functionality without having to change the Latitude code itself. Now we've got a bunch of new enhanced Latitude functionalities we've added, and we'll talk about all of them as we go forward. But you can see we've updated the condition monitoring plugin, allowing querying for historical data via the new CM query function, which will add a ton of value for our customers that need monitoring of critical systems and components. We've also added a cool new function called the Analytics Server to Latitude that's going to allow our customers to connect with any type of analytics engine. And the FLIR VAI will help customers more efficiently manage their alarms and decrease false alarms by adding an additional analytics layer to the decision-making process. A couple of smaller things. We've added functionality for the auto directory backup. We can now discover PTZs and import existing presets as part of the camera discovery process. We can also now go directly to query right from clicking on a camera on the map in Control Center. Finally, we've added the cybersecurity features that you can see here, IP filtering and phase 2 of our multi-factor authentication platform. As I've mentioned already, UVMS 9.2.4 added support for both our 4K camera and the FCR AI camera, but that's kind of hard to show. But what we can talk about is the new dynamic attribute we've added. If you remember in the 9.2.3 release, we added this function using JSON data from the camera that covered adaptive streaming, bitrate tables, and new event types. And now we've added a new dynamic attribute that allows the camera to use motion-based analytics together with video analytics. Before this, we had to choose one or the other. Now we can have them both at the same time. The first VMS enhancement we'll show here adds a new component to the VMS family, the Analytics Server. Just as we have always used the application server to manage all kinds of system plugins when we want to integrate outside components with Latitude, the new Analytics Server component will act as a manager of the various types of analytics engines and types, allowing integrations with Latitude and any kind of analytics the customer needs. In conjunction with the new Analytics Server component, we now have a more granular way to help customers be able to weed out potential false alarms by adding an additional verification layer to the alarm or don't alarm decision. First, we now have a new actions type called Trigger Classification Event that we can tie to any event like you can see in the top picture on the right, tied to zone motion. And then, once Motion Analytics detects something in the trigger zone, it then passes it to the DLV Analytics library, which can then determine if it's a vehicle or a person before it sounds any alarm. The added decision layer will lower false or nuisance alarms because it has to pass through more layers before validation. Now, this one is pretty self-explanatory, as you can see. We all know that the directory database is the brains of the Latitude system, and it therefore needs to be backed up on the regular. Way back in UVMS 8.0, we introduced the automatic backup schedule function for this database. And now the only real change is that little check mark in the Enable Schedule Directory Backup is there by default. Whereas before, when this feature emerged back in 8.0, it was not enabled by default. You had to manually check the box. Having it on by default just makes sense so our customers can avoid potential loss of data if they didn't have the box checked. Now here's another pretty simple change, but our customers asked for it and we made it happen. We've long had cameras on maps, but we've never had the ability to query for camera video directly from the camera icon on the map itself without having to go to the query pane, search for the camera, etc. Now you just click the camera on the map and the query pane comes up, the camera preloaded, and then all you need to do is define your time parameters for the query. It's just quicker and more efficient way to do it. Another pretty cool new feature for UVMS 9.2.4 is the ability to import existing presets on a PTZ when you discover the camera in latitude. Before this feature was added, it was a sometimes time-consuming process to have to recreate camera presets in latitude when customers add existing PTZs to UVMS. Finally, the last VMS enhancement we've added to the UVMS 9.2.4 is Phase 2 of our recently added condition monitoring plugin. In Phase 1, customers could monitor live temperatures and alert according to temperatures going above or below a set threshold. And it's been very well received in the field because this new functionality gives our customers who use UVMS the ability to do something they never could before. With Phase 2, it just gets better. In Phase 2, the AIC team has added the ability for customers to store temperature data and be able to query this new database for historical data in addition to being used in a live monitoring environment like Phase 1. With this new capability, customers can now spot trends, review video clips from the time of the alarms, and create reports populated by this aggregate data. Okay, so let's close out with a couple of new cybersecurity layers we've added. The first is IP filtering. By controlling which IP addresses can connect to cameras, we can whitelist our known good IPs and blacklist any connections to unknown IPs. This allows us to keep potential bad actors out of our system by limiting access to only those from known good IP addresses. Finally, if you remember from UVMS 9.3 release, we added multi-factor authentication to the login process for our customers that were asking for this. And now we've added to that functionality, which you can see explained in these 3 paragraphs. We can now support MFA with Active Directory customers that could be issued an access code where we could not do that in Phase 1. In the middle there, you could see our Azure customers. The MFA is handled on their side. While notice at the bottom, we've also added MFA synchronization to the global address server service so our federated multi-site customers can use multi-factor authentication.